Good morning and welcome to Beyond the Lines podcast. I'm your host, Nikki Watson, on this wonderful Tuesday morning. A little dreary and chilly, but that's okay. We're not going to let that get us down, right? We have a few things to cover today because we got into a little bit yesterday. So thank you for joining me yesterday if you caught it. And we are now streaming to YouTube. Yay. We'll see. Who knows? So we're doing that, and we're super excited because the internet seems to be holding up, not holding anything against us, and seems to be doing well. So we're going to hang on to that. We are still doing the camera. Everything seems to be working out okay so far. Maybe we've turned the tide. The camera seems to be doing fine. It is what it is, but I think it's a little bit better than it has been. So there we go. We're doing a little bit with the rock music here. Seems to be the thing. But what we were getting into yesterday is we read XF's latest piece on the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Really important stuff because just the Gaza in general. But what we were also doing is we were asking the question of why is Facebook's greatest and favorite historian, Heather Cox Richardson, why is she not addressing those things or sharing that information with her audience, who I would think would want to receive that information? So we've been tracking this for a little while now. And, it really stems from a place of wanting to understand what is going on, but really being a receiver of information and checking biases and checking my own bias at the door. Am I missing something? But once I started paying attention to her patterns of propaganda, once I started tracking her patterns and realizing the language that she was using and the lens which she was framing everything for her audience, which seemed to be growing because she rose to prominence in, I think, 2018, on the professor's watch list, which is an interesting collision of things. So, and Charlie Kirk was a part of that as well. This professor's watch list of people that were professors that were putting out information that is believed to be, again, propaganda and maybe more on, the woke side. And we've been through this culture war, which we're still going through, but we've been through it. I would say 2021 to about 2024-ish. With the election victory to President Trump, we've seen a lot of changes for that space. And so people like Charlie Kirk himself, and also people like him that were in the fight there and really speaking for a lot of people that were like, but there are the trans ideology is not just the only thing. There are a number of other things that would probably put you on the professor's watch list. But anyway, so she rose to prominence in 2018. She had written some books, a book about the Republican Party, I'm not sure, that makes her an expert in the Republican Party, in history itself. Right. So I think her Facebook page, and we can go to it. I think it says about, well, let's just go to it because we had gone to it yesterday. We spent some time with it. But I think it's about taking facts from a political, using facts from a historical perspective to explain what's going on politically now. Right. So, and being a political historian, right, there's just a lot of concerns when it comes to somebody with this authoritarian presentation, who presents themselves as an expert, as a historian, but then infiltrates a lot of editorializing and opinions, and again, propaganda, because it's framing it in a certain way that is obviously pro-Democratic Party. It's very anti-Trump, of course. So these were all the things that I was recognizing as I thought I was on this journey to look at the political events of today through a historical lens. Who wouldn't want to do that? So I think that there is a conflict there when it comes to putting yourself out there with this large audience as being somebody who is, I think what she has referred to herself as is she's a believer in or defender of small d democracy. And we've covered some of these things where she sort of says some things like, oh, well, then what are you doing? Like in the one recording that she did, the live stream on Facebook that we reviewed, sort of coming out and saying, almost having to clarify her position, her bias, like, what are you doing, right? Because like we said yesterday, and we've said before, that journalism, and not that she's doing it, is not objective. So any content that you see is, everybody has their own lens perspective. And the idea really is for everybody to be able to communicate effectively their bias. Isn't that the excuse me real quick. Hey, you can't sit in here. Come on, go. You can't sit in here and just cry about it, okay? Go. Okay. So yeah, so wouldn't it be the thing for everybody to be able to acknowledge their bias? Like, everybody comes from a different place, oftentimes the same, some people come from the same place, but everybody has their own unique experiences. And isn't that actual diversity, right? Isn't that actual inclusion, right? Where we genuinely include voices and experiences and perspectives from all walks of life. The censorship industrial complex has tried to silo everybody, silence people with different political views, I guess, because we've talked about this before. The Overton window has shifted so far that things that were once considered just normal, typical, are now being pushed into this sort of far right. And anytime they don't like this populism, they want to frame it as this radical, right? The MAGA Republicans, or this radical thing, the right or the far right, or things that do have legitimacy. I'm not sure legitimacy is the right word, but does have a place in history that is connected to actual ideas and things and all that. But to try and roll it out onto us in current day is oftentimes disingenuous. It serves the purpose that it does. And if we just know what people mean, but oftentimes what people like Richardson and Richardson herself do is they try to box people in just for having normal perspective and ideas. And what I think she's actually trying to do is normalize the Democratic Party position, because the Democratic Party position has been taken over in a way from by the new neo-left, which is a radical position, and not preferred by most, and is actually unpopular, right? Which is why we saw Trump win in, the election was stolen in 2020, but then we saw Trump win in 2024. And and with the, big data analytics, we're in the age of big data analytics. The everybody knows what is most preferred and what most people think, right? And where most people stand. So this idea to distort just the normal preference where most people are, and reality too, by the way, because that's what was shoved down our throats for 4 years, right? The winter of the unvaccinated. But also, like, everything is great. Democrats are doing a great job. Everything is great. And everybody was like, no, actually, in fact, it's not great. It's not great. And we saw that one congressperson almost, I think, no, she even actually said, make America great again. And we reviewed all of this. Richardson at the DNC, them waving flags. And she's like, oh, waving the American flags. They basically tried to take all the marketing from MAGA and try and put it, right? That was the whole thing about Kamala Harris going out there talking about middle-class families, right? Trying to connect with the middle class after they had, in fact, abandoned the middle class and their voter base over the decades, right? Had this opportunity to actually make the changes, keep the integrity of jobs, people's healthcare, and the economy, right? And didn't. So here we are. So all of these ideas that the Democratic Party was standing for, they had become so wildly unpopular, right? Forcing jab mandates, forcing all of the things, forcing Ukraine down everybody's throat, right? Forcing the COVID mandates down everybody's throat, forcing transgender ideology, forcing, I'm trying to think, these relationships with the WHO and how we have to preserve democracy, we have to preserve public health, but also, we want to preserve public health, but in the way that they were doing it, partnering with the globalist organizations, we want to preserve democracy all around the world, at home and around the world. Doing the censorship industrial complex, censoring everybody. So the Democrats were in, and are still in, a lot of trouble because their policies became so unpopular. Okay. And a lot of their campaigning relies on hating Trump. And they've cultivated this reputation, and they've cultivated this psychology in the public for so long that we witness people in these moments of psychosis where they can't see past, this just hatred for Trump, and actually also for Trump supporters. People post on Facebook, like, I'm speechless, because it is actually through media messaging that people like Heather Cox Richardson and herself do, that really promulgate this psychological experience that people are having. And it is very similar to what we saw with COVID and such. So it's a state of mind and a state of being, and it's hard to, and we see it across the board with the analysts, because when you're looking at the geopolitics and you're looking at worldly events and stuff through this lens of this demonizing this one man and making up all of these stories that, about him to justify the lens and the perspective, it really takes away from the reality of the situation and where, what is actually going on, and being able to assess with a sober mindset. So I think that Richardson is trying to salvage the Democratic Party and trying to normalize it, which I don't blame her for that. Just as I hope she wouldn't blame me for wanting to make America great again. And, as in, like, these are all the problems. They want to talk about MAGA as, they do the racism and the white supremacy. And without making this show about that, there are people that are racist, and there are people that are white supremacists, I imagine. So I don't talked to any of them. I don't know it. I couldn't tell you really much about it. But I think to say that that's what people mean when they say make America great again, you know, so if making America great again is not to go, now it may be for some people, but that's the ambiguity that we're going to be talking about with the dog whistling that Richardson herself is doing. So yeah, America is a big place. The internet is also a big place, but some people, it is a dog whistle for them because that's the way that they view the world. I'm sure. I'm assuming, I'm guessing, I'm thinking, probably, when you're talking to a bunch of people, with this messaging. I mean, that's what politics is also. So yes, but to just blanket it as this whole thing is not true. And if you're going through that as your premise, that's some of the other questions that we're trying to ask is like, what does she actually think, and what is her motive, agenda, and just trying to dig through to find good information, but then also recognize what some of the other messaging is. And I keep going back to this, but I'll try and finish my thought. With the Democratic Party, I think she's trying to salvage it. She's trying to normalize it, because she'll say things like, we're the majority. We just want this, and this. So, and I would agree that we are way more alike than we are unalike, especially on a geographical level. We have an invested interest as Americans and as people, just people that live in the same place. Our schools, our work, our kids, our food supply, our lives, our quality of life, the things that we care about. We are far more, how much we need each other. We are far more interdependent and connected, and we agree far more than we disagree. I would say that. And if that's really all we were talking about here, that would be fine. But she does a lot of, again, trying to salvage the Democratic Party and try and act like the last 4 years didn't happen. And I think that that's where some of what she's doing with Trump now, saying, well, like, where is he? Oh, he's missing. Oh, he's MIA. He is unwell. He does not look like somebody who is up for the presidency. He's delegating all of these things, almost like doing, this isn't the right term, but I'll just use it, parallel construction to sort of cover up the last 4 years of what the Democratic Party has done and what the Biden administration was all about, right? I mean, and then we saw overtly his unwellness that was literally covered up, so I think she's doing some cover there in her framing of Trump now and the administration now. And then again, trying to normalize the Democratic Party, trying to stabilize it. Yes, trying to make it seem like there are more of us than there are of them, and making it sound like the administration is this group of radicals, which she has said before, that the administration is taken over by this small group of radicals. So she does a few different funny things where she'll talk about MAGA and saying that, because people, unless she wants to go dive into the difference between a Trump voter and MAGA, right? Because you would probably say that you don't have to be like, is MAGA? What is MAGA? Right? What is MAGA? And do you have to be MAGA to be a Trump voter? Right? And is there a difference between a Trump voter and a Trump supporter? Right? There are racists on all sides. Racism is bipartisan. Okay. So that is not specific to, that's what they've tried to do, is they've tried to put all the racists on this one side of the political spectrum while trying to cover up every single chance that they get that MAGA is not representative of the Republican Party, that Trump is not actually a Republican, he's a moderate. They almost want to act like he didn't win, you know, because they'll also say that, where they'll say, where she'll say, oh, you know, more people voted against Trump than for Trump, because if you add up the people that voted for Kamala Harris and the third party, Jill Stein, or whoever it was, that adds up to more than the people that voted for Trump. And then they also actually count people that didn't vote as a non-vote for Trump. I know this sounds nuts, but this is what they do. They count up all the people that didn't actually vote. And they say, oh, those people sat out. So those people were actually non-Trump voters. That's crazy. So and then she says, like, we're in the majority, you know, like, we're the majority. What is that? People that don't want to talk about what's going on in the Middle East, or the peace plans that Trump's putting together, or whatever, the diplomacy that's happening. You know, who are you talking to, you know, really specifically? So it's this denial of the fact that Trump won. It's a denial that MAGA is not some radical faction of the population. And I think Mike Benz has gone into this too, about how they want to label populism as the far right. So, and they do this all over the world. So, because they are afraid that with populism, right, that populism is a threat. So that's why they are gaslighting and confusing and doing disinformation on what is actually going on with people and with the reality of the world, like the economy, what has happened with the economy, where people are at, and how most people think about things, what most people are interested in, and just want to do. You know, it's a big gaslighting thing, and it sucks because there's enough problems. If we could just agree on the problems, right? You know, pro-Trump content creators are not going to necessarily talk about the in-depth, they're not going to do an analysis or an in-depth look into policy, right? So, and I'm not saying Richardson has to do that either, but she certainly presents herself as somebody who is doing the historical record, but it's extremely biased, and we've called it out a number of times. And it's definitely unfortunate because it's confusing people. It's confusing people about what's going on, and what's the benefit of confusing people. You want to salvage the Democratic Party and you just want to wait for Project 2029? You just want to wait until you think that Trump's out of power and MAGA's out of power and the Republicans are out of power? How do you think that's going? Why don't you forecast on that, Richardson? You going to do this for another, 8-12 years? Holding on? You have a better chance if you sort of lift the veil a little bit, maybe differentiate between being a historian. Maybe just do the historical little videos and stuff. Maybe you don't need to do the political commentary, but if you do, be clear on like, hey, I'm a historian, but this is my political commentary and my views are my own. But they're not. You're acting like you are doing this, like I'm on, like, taking official facts and you're presenting them as such. Why? Like, so do the historical history thing and let people decide for themselves. Be like, oh, that happened. That's a documentary. Oh, Richardson's doing a documentary and she's talking about this. Why do you have to then mix it in with the political commentary and make it seem as though everything you're saying has this credibility because you're using it, because you're pulling in, you are doing just the commentary. You're not doing the history or the historical references. You try and bring those things in. So I'm just saying, maybe for the future, you can consider doing one or the other. Or again, if you're going to be doing the political commentary, just saying, hey, this is, and maybe you think you are. Maybe that's what you think the politics chat is political commentary. But then you'll say things like, I'm editorializing now. You see how it's really confusing for people who, we need to be bringing people together from an educational perspective, not continuing to confuse. So I don't know if people aren't taking you seriously and this is just a comedy show or whatever. But to say, where is the president? Where is the president? Well, today he's meeting in the Oval Office with, where are they meeting? With the Prime Minister of Canada. He's meeting today. So there you go. There he is. Where is he? So we can actually go look right now and see him. We're being recorded live. Okay, so what we wanted to talk about today, now that we're 26 minutes in, I guess we're all warmed up. We wanted to go over Truth Social. So let's go to Truth Social because and so I want to go play his, what is this? I want to go play his video of the Grim Reaper, or of the Reaper. Now, I don't know if, people are afraid that if you go to Trump's page, you're going to see the good too with the bad, or perceived bad. Okay. Getting people's attention, though. I mean, can't say that's not happening. Okay. Okay, so this was a day ago. Where he's saying, she's like, but where is he? To release the hostages. There have been very positive discussions with Hamas and countries from all over the world, Arab, Muslim, and everyone else this weekend to release the hostages and the war in Gaza. But more importantly, finally have long sought peace in the Middle East. These talks have been very successful and proceeding rapidly. The technical teams will again meet Monday in Egypt to work through and clarify the final details. I am told that the first phase should be completed this week, and I'm asking everyone to move fast. I will continue to monitor this centuries-old conflict. Time is of the essence, or massive bloodshed will follow, something that nobody wants to see. Okay, so let's go back to Wait, did he repost? Oh. Oh. Man, guys, I really thought I didn't think we'd have to go back this far. Please stream. Oh, I can just do this. Is this? Oh, these are these replies? Okay. I use this on my phone. You know, forgive me, but I'm on my phone using the app and stuff, so I should have had this ready. Talks amongst yourselves. Do you want me to play music while we wait for me to find the... Sure. Oh, here. Okay, so this is the post that she didn't want her audience to see. It's now or never. This is about international pleas for release of the hostages and the war and to be over in Gaza. This is also the clip that somebody mentioned in the comment section about her saying, "Where is President Trump? Where is he?" And then somebody in the comment section had to say, "Actually, I just saw him at the Resolute desk doing peace." No? Yep, there's that too. I don't know if these are gonna, I don't know if this is gonna play, but we'll see. Oh, Russell. Yeah, so they're real worried about him. Here's our Reaper video, but here it is. Well, this is the Undertaker. There you go. So then there's this video here. I'm going to play this. My friend Terry said, hey, in the comment section, Tara, I don't know what's up with the StreamYard and Rumble, but I cannot connect to where if you comment, then it can play on the screen. So I don't even know. I've lost the ability to be able to do that because it's not working whenever I connect it to Rumble. I don't know. Something happened probably about 4 or 5 months ago where it sort of changed the way that that connected. Anyway, so hey, Tare. Okay, we're going to go to this clip now. This is the Reaper video that Richardson was talking about.
Now their time has come.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So there it is. That's the Reaper video that she was distressed about. Oh, okay, here it is. The party of hate, evil, and Satan. The Democratic Party is dead. They have no leadership, no message, no hope. Their only message for America is to hate Trump. I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, I do see what you're saying. Like, this messaging, this type of messaging. Like, I do get it. But let me just float this out there. He said the Democratic Party is dead. They have no leadership, no message, no hope. Their only message for America is to hate Trump. So, you know, from an analysis of power analysis, but from an analysis of the ruling class and the political class, you would say, I mean, voters would have, and this has become more exposed over the last number of years, but they would criticize all of these people, specifically these people. The messaging from Trump is the Democratic Party is dead, which I think the Democratic Party has had to come to terms with. From a messaging perspective, from a platform, the party platform perspective, from a policy perspective, they have had to come to terms with this. And so they have no leadership, which is true. They don't have a message. And the messaging is and has been to hate Trump. That has been their whole thing. The Hitler, or all of the rhetoric about him for so long. I mean, obviously the Russia collusion hoax, the impeachments, and all the things. It's just it's just been the whole MO the whole time. So he's not talking about people, regular people. He's not talking about Democratic voters. And when he talks about the radical left lunatics, or however he words it, he's talking about the new neo-left that the political class has allowed to take over the entire thing, to make the Democratic Party so unlikable and so unrelatable, lying to their constituents for so long. And I think that this is sort of the strange thing, and what we've tried to review here for people who I thought just would know better. But I mean, I'm really speaking to people who, again, this show's called Beyond the Lines because it's really not about talking one party over the other. It's really about looking at and acknowledging and just looking at the things that have happened, because Trump came through the Republican Party. You see, he wasn't a traditional Republican. And if he had only spoken to traditional Republicans, he would not have been so popular. He wouldn't have won the popular vote in 2024. So he had to be the moderate that he is. He had to speak about the different things that he did. He had to create the coalitions with Maha. Like, It's the big tent party. It's a bunch of different things that people care about, right? It's not the old Republican Party. And Richardson tried to do this thing where she tried to say Liz Cheney and Adam Kissinger. This was this was last year, where she was like at the not the DNC, but maybe the DNC, whatever. Like, oh, they're starting a new party, like. I'm pretty sure they're the old Republican Party. Like, this has been a rotation of elites. This is not the old Republican Party. Yes, it's made up of people who are boomer Republicans who watch Fox News. Yes, but it also had to grab from other voter blocks in order to be the coalition that it is, and that is MAGA. It is about the Michael Moore saying in 2016, this is going to be the biggest FU. When they go out there and they vote, this is going to be the biggest FU. We've had low voter turnout, right? This is about the activation of the middle class. This is about garnering attention. Getting people involved, and also building trust back up in institutions, because the trust has been lost. What somebody said, was that like 20% or whatever, right? If people don't feel as though their voice or their vote matters, right? This is about the consent of the governed in communion with the people, right? So, and this isn't about anti-elitism either. It's about having an elite that understands that their survival and their sovereignty and their freedom and their power and their future depends on not powering over the people, but empowering the people. Showing their power by giving people what they prefer, empowering people, not their power over. That is over. Okay? And so the Democratic Party, who Trump is speaking to, the radical left lunatics, are the people that want to do this stuff in education that is just, for the most part, unpopular. So what we would say is radical, like radical ideas. You don't, everybody has a voice. There should be places for radical ideas. There should be places for ideas for people to be able to talk and make sense of the world, or, bad ideas be fleshed out. Like, that's what the whole censorship thing was too, is that you want to talk about fascism, you want to talk about corporatism and big tech colluding with the government to kick people off the public square, which is the privately owned digital commons, kick them off X and Facebook and or Twitter and X, or Twitter and Facebook, kick them off for saying, like, maybe we shouldn't be wearing masks, or maybe we shouldn't be having to take this injection to keep our jobs. Maybe they shouldn't be teaching this stuff in schools. Maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe our tax dollars shouldn't be going to this. So, without that pushback, all these bad ideas were allowed to just fester and be fostered, and people think that that's like normal, right? I'm trying to do this juxtapose where I take like what I'm saying about these types of things and like how people think about maybe like Trump supporters or Trump voters. And I definitely don't agree that, I think there's some fanatics. I would agree that there are some Trump fanatics. Yes, there are. But, Trump supporters have been put through the ringer. Okay. They've been silenced. They've been censored. They've been threatened. They've been murdered. They have been jailed. they've been debanked, they've been threatened. And so I don't think that there's any suppression of reflectiveness, I guess I should say. Like, there's nothing that is unexamined, okay? Like, there's no unexamined of the Trump supporter. Like, somebody who's been following Trump or been following the trends or kind of, Republican, whatever. There's no unexamined part that has been told that is something that it's not. And you could say, well, they've been told that Trump is something that he's not. You don't think that people know that, like, nobody thinks Trump is something that he's not? I know that's so weird to hear if you don't agree with it. But, like, nobody thinks Trump is something that he's not. That is not the tone. That's not the vibe. And because it's all been fleshed out about it's been how many years now? We're going on 10 years of Trump. So nobody has the veil over their eyes. Now, do you have some people? Sure, of course. I'm just talking about most people. If you look at the voter blocks and you look about who came out to vote and you just talk to people and you live in the United States and you live in the world and you know what people care about and you know what people talk about. But with this radical left lunatic space, it is very it's boxed in, it's boxed in. And that's what he means. And without it being examined, because people think that their backs are up against a wall and they don't think that they have any choices because they're being presented with this danger, right? That doesn't exist in the real world. And so on this side of it. And so it's versus what we're seeing with, like I said, MAGA's a big tent. People that vote for Trump and people that vote for Republicans at this time, it's a big tent. And again, with the coalition of Tulsi Gabbard, DNI Gabbard, and Bobby Kennedy coming in to address these issues that have been festering in the public for a very long time. In a way, it's politics, and Democrats lost. They lost the narrative. They lost the voter base, or the voters. They lost the ability to do policy because they sold out too. So, and people are becoming much more aware of that. So there's this messaging that's done by people like Richardson that Trump is attacking people. And he's not. He's talking about institutions. He's talking about the Democratic Party. He's talking about these ruling elites. He's talking about the system. He's talking about the outliers that actually do infiltrate and cause harm and commit crimes. So that's the difference. He's not punching down, you see? And then you see like, Trump vote or MAGA. Is this what does the Democratic Party have a MAGA? Do they have a big tent coalition? So when you say MAGA, like, who are you talking to? Who are you punching down to? Are you talking about Trump voters? Are you talking about just regular Americans that just like are living paycheck to paycheck, that are done with the bullshit? that are done with politicians lying to them, Republicans and Democrats. Is that who you're talking to? So you see, it's very different. And so if I were to give you any sort of advice in your journey here to preserve the Democratic Party, is to stop punching down and stop making it seem like your position is this sort of like, we're the majority. Like, what do you think? And stop talking to MAGA like, you know, they're stop talking to MAGA like it's this one size fits all and using it as such. Because there's just smart people out there that I think would get it and understand and grasp it if they weren't just being fed. And that's on them, you know, that's on them. I mean, I just see people I know post to Facebook, people I know in real life that maybe I haven't seen in years or whatever, and they'll just post stuff. And I'm like, you know, the world is a big place and there's a lot of things that need to be sort of addressed and problems to be solved. You know, and I just feel like if you weren't so consumed with these bad ideas and these misleading labels, then you could actually, I don't know, be in tune with what's going on and appreciate what's going on instead of being so angry and mad. And, you know, there's space for that and room for that. So, yeah, so maybe stop doing the punching down. And, yeah, the neocons are they've aligned with the Democrats. We saw that with the Ukraine support. There's a Republican senator in Pennsylvania who was just in Ukraine like 4 or 5 months ago. Like, so we're done with the warmongering. We're done with the fear mongering. We're done with the funding foreign conflicts. And it's almost like Richardson has gotten this memo that, like, you know, we're going to try and talk about foreign affairs as little as possible and try and talk about domestic issues and try and show what, you know, Democrats are doing in the United States to help and be supportive. But you have you're platforming Governor Newsom and this other lady that we can watch one of her videos. It's like you just, you know, the Democratic Party is dead. So I don't know. But let's go to, we're going to stop sharing for a second and let's go to the, I think we did a little bit of the True Social. I think we did enough of that. So that's good. Let's go to, we're at 52 minutes. Great. Let's go to Facebook. And we'll keep watching a little bit of this. And then we'll watch. Oh, because we were going to watch the other one with the black hoodie. Yeah. All right. Well, let's watch a little bit of this because this was from Saturday. So it's like, where's the president? Okay. Well, we saw he's here. He's fine. Okay.
Yeah. I won't even go further.
So that then raises the other question of, you know, first of all, what does the American people do about that? But, you know, I wonder to what degree there's a funny level at which so much of the Republican project since Reagan, really, and you could even push it all the way back to Nixon, has been about image versus reality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're projecting this image that we are these strong, you know, individualist, capitalist, masculine, cowboy, army. I mean, yeah, I could keep on going with adjectives and nouns describing that. And it seems like we're getting to a place where it's a caricature.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we do with that?
Right. And with,
Okay. So they never thought they were going to lose power. So now are they doing like some sort of public disclosure for the Biden voter that this is all just to show that this was all just a projection of power this whole time? And so now is it like they're trying to lift the veil now to like let everybody know after Trump's been doing this show for almost 10 years now, right? So why now are we lifting the veil on what this is, that we've just been projecting masculinity, we've just been projecting strength? Well, if we go back to the Biden administration, I thought we were just the greatest thing since sliced bread. So now though we're not. Now it's just been a facade this whole time.
It's all, and actually the
Because just to be clear, if we go back to the archives of the Biden administration and how Richardson's been talking about the Biden administration for the whole time, it's been all about talking up the strengths. It's been about how strong Biden has been during all of his diplomatic talks, right? During all of the events that he's done or whatever, all of the meetings that he's had, he's projected such strength and diplomacy and Blinken and all of the things, right? And but so now we're supposed to buy that the United States is what? We're just projecting strength? Huh, interesting.
more you say that, it makes me think of other things that are not front and center, but that highlight the way in which it's a caricature and it's a show with nothing behind it, right? It makes me think of all of the gold in the Oval Office, right?
It makes me think of Biden. No. Okay, I know. She's going to go into this like it makes me think of all the gold. And this is actually really interesting. So she's going to actually talk about all the gold and how the gold is supposed to project. She wants to probably say the gargoyle effect, but she wants to say that like, oh, all this gold is projecting strength and projecting gold. But she doesn't say that it's fake gold, right? She just says, oh, we use gold. But to make her argument, which is that it's all fake, is that it would have to be fake gold, right? Because if it's real gold, then it's gold. And he likes gold. Sue him, and isn't it a sort of like funny way to express the fact that like our dollar system, right, is not backed by gold anymore, right? So it's almost like how they're talking about like, is everything fake? Meanwhile, the Biden administration, Biden's talking from a fake movie set, right? Like, is everything fake now? And now she's going to say, oh, this gold. Yeah, you mean like our dollar that's not backed by gold anymore? But keep going. No, keep going.
Like, how much more gold can we
Gold.
get? That is true. The gold in the Oval Office, but
I don't know
but
what
the
that means.
fact,
So if somebody's watching this, Heather, if your comms person is watching this, can you let me know what that means? Or if anybody has come here that knows what that means. I don't know what they're insinuating with that it's not real gold, or they think it's not real gold. They're going to have some intern like be scratching the gold and trying to prove that it's not real gold. There's going to be some sort of rat in the White House that like releases this video about how it's not real gold, unless somebody already has. I don't know. But I don't know what this is about, because are you insinuating that Trump's building stuff with fake gold? I don't know. I mean, that doesn't seem, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that, I don't know. Tell me.
to me, that is the ultimate sign of weakness, all of that gold. Because what that feels to me like is a plea.
Do you own gold, Joanne? Do you own gold? All the gold actually feels like a plea to me. I would like some more gold myself. I would love some gold. It's valuable. It's pretty. It's meaningful, depending upon who it comes from. It's long lasting. This feels like, yeah, the man likes nice things.
Look how important I am. See, I'm really important. I'm really rich and I'm really important. Like, see all the gold, you have to respect me because there's so much gold, and I could put more gold there because I am who I am. I'm the president. And that to me.
Hold on. Sorry. This is haterism, but it's also why we don't say Hag because we're trying to be rude or we're just being judgmental. The Hag archetype is a very distinct one, and it actually presents its strength through the absence of physicality. So, and its beauty. Physically, it's this relationship between plain, old, non-materialistic, being connected to being more trustworthy. Okay, it's the Hag archetype, right? We trust old women who don't care what they look like because they're more focused on the ideas. They're more focused on things that matter, like their intellect. So this fits right in the judgment of having nice things and materialism, but the judgment of having nice things fits into the way that they're constructing their thought process and their opinions about who Trump is, what he represents, what drives him, what motivates him. And it is this disconnect from wealth and from a wealth mindset as well.
And it feels like the epitome of this presidency, that it's flash and sludgy capitalism, to go back to what you saw on Truth Social. It's all show, it's all performance in a really bizarrely blatant, obvious kind of a way.
So I would think, though, that as historians, from a political perspective, you would know, or you would agree, or you would admit that politics is all about the show, historically. So why is this any different then?
And we're in this moment now where that's very apparent, even in some of the extreme things that are happening, that you get the sense that they're extreme in part so that they look extreme. Maybe. More than anything else. And yet there are these extreme things happening that are deeply affecting people all over the place, certainly affecting the nature of the country. And yeah, the goal seemingly, and it's never good when people say, let's go back to those better times, because the better times are never better. Speaking as someone who focuses on political violence and the founding era, right? Even as early as like the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s, you had 1880s, you had people writing these books that were like, the glorious founding era. They were so genteel. They danced cotillions, you know, it was the most wonderful, you know, and meanwhile, I'm writing about people out shooting each other on fields, but yes, it was perfect. It was wonderful. Nostalgia, when you're trying to go back in time to a non-existent period and you're being governed by nostalgia and a desire for something that never existed, never a great thing when the people who are doing that actually are in power of the country.
Well, and that, you know, so there's two places to go forward here. One is that really jumped out to me on Tuesday when Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth spoke to the military officers, and then was followed, of course, by Trump speaking to them. 800 or so of the nation's top members of the military, who are incredibly well qualified, incredibly well educated, you know, have been in combat. You know, they're the real deal. Yeah. And you got this one guy who did make it to major, but who, before he became defense secretary, is the least qualified defense secretary in history. And before he got there, he was a weekend host on the Fox News channel, lecturing them about how they had to make the Army strong again by doing push-ups, which is just like, speaking of fantasies, you know, the reason the US military is as strong as it is not because of like physical muscle, it's because of intelligence and logistics and
but if somebody is like very overweight and is, you know, they can't control their, you know, they can't have impulse control when it comes to, you know, their lifestyle. That's what they're talking about too. And would it be terrible for them to be able to have to do push-ups?
And strategy and all these things take actual study.
Which I will add,
Oh.
all of those things do not require only white men.
That's right. Exactly.
Who? Oh my God, this is what I'm saying. Who said that, Joanne? Who said that? Who said that it only had to include white men? Now, I'm genuinely asking, like, did somebody say that?
But it really jumped out that here he was literally in front of a screen that recalled the first scene in Patton, that very famous speech of Patton's about blood and guts and all that. And he's lecturing these people, and they, of course, because they are true to their oaths, sitting there stone-faced.
So I read that they were not to respond. Is that true? That the generals were not able to, they like are not to respond. Were the generals required to stay silent during Hegseth's speech? I think they were required to stay silent though, right? Somebody wrote, in what celebs in death said, in what will likely be remembered as one of the most awkward moments in recent Pentagon history, hundreds of generals try to keep a straight face. Fat shame. Mother Jones said, Hegseth uses unprecedented meaning to fat shame generals. Politico said, somebody said it could have been an email. Officials balk at Hegseth's generals meeting. Okay.
That moment, for all of the reasons you're saying, the sort of ode to Patton.
My question is, when was the last time all the generals met in person like that? Was this like, yeah, I think it did say unprecedented meeting, uses unprecedented meeting. So to say that they didn't clap or they didn't, I don't think they were going to, right? They were not supposed to.
The big flag and the single figure sort of, parading around. But then the faces of the military that he was facing, stone-faced or even pained looking in that audience, that was like the epitome of this kind of performance that we're talking about. They're watching this nonsense, this parade in front of them, and the impression that they were giving was just what you said. Well, there's the real stuff. They're the people who their job, and they know it's their job, is to protect Americans, not attack Americans. You could see that so visibly in that moment. It really.
This is a war of institution. This is a war of institutions in the sense of like corruption and what has already been done. This isn't about this like new effort to, crack down on Americans for no reason at all. Like we're coming out, God willing, like we've come out of an era where like that was okay. So that's not what this is. I know that you're framing it in such, and you believe that probably, but
sort of captured in one moment precisely where we are. And oddly enough, I found the stone-faced military comforting. Yeah. Because that's what they're supposed to do. That's who they are.
Only the black men,
their
though,
job
not the
is
white
the
men,
opposite of what they're being asked to do by Hegseth, and then particularly Trump, who then went on to talk about the enemy within.
Well, and that was the other place it really showed up is Trump, who got 5 deferments from the draft, 4 for school and 1 for his bad feet, lecturing those people about the way the military was going to work from then on, was again this really stark moment of image versus reality. But if we push that forward, one of the things that it seems clear to me anyway is that this image that Trump projected of this guy who was a great businessman, he was going to have the best people, and he was going to do all this great stuff for the economy and for his voters, and for, and America was going to be, the whole thing. It's the wheels are off the bus. I mean, they are truly off the bus. And
yeah, we want Trump to do that too. Like, don't you? Like, don't you want Trump to do good things? We do too. And he's going to have to, because like I said, you guys should, instead of being so pissed off at MAGA, you should be glad that enough people are paying attention, that they at least recognize that, like, hey, this isn't about a bunch of people being duped. It's about realizing that, like, hey, these are the problems that we face. And don't, we're streaming to YouTube now, but like, we couldn't even talk about election integrity, right? Election integrity, and what was the phrase? Oh, election denialism. That was something that they made up in 2022 to address, or 2021 to address people that were questioning the election specifically of 2020. So do you not want to see these things? And I know like historically Republicans and Democrats like have a difference of opinion about, how things can be done. But I mean, we're already seeing the pharmaceutical prices being slashed. We're already seeing Dr. Oz and Kennedy doing the work with that. That is unprecedented. And as much as you guys hate Kennedy, I mean, he is a legacy figure. Like, his father and his uncle were both assassinated. I mean, he probably has some sort of an idea about government corruption, and everybody just wants to hate on him and shit on him and, do this liberal criticism of power where it's like, all bad unless our guys are in there. Well, for you guys, but I mean, just the black pillars and all the, everybody's the black hat people. Like, we still have an opportunity to do this, to make things better and to support an elite structure that has our best interests at heart enough that, they're invested in it too. Maybe they don't have the heart that we would prefer. But it's about pressure on the right spots, and about, about us as people being empowered, about not having a victimhood mindset, not waiting for the government to save us, not waiting for somebody else to save us, not waiting for a politician to save us, to hold people on all sides of the aisle accountable, to hold all of your politicians accountable. And if anybody shook up the political system, it was Trump. If anybody shook it up, it was MAGA, right? So, that's good news. This is because what's going on in the Democrat Party? I mean, what, you're going to roll out Governor Newsom? You're going to roll out who? Shapiro? Good luck with that. I mean, Newsom has the worst reputation among Democrats. So this is what Trump is saying when he says the Democratic Party is dead. They have no leadership. They have no message. So you're going to have to find a way to find something that you can work with. You're going to have to find something within MAGA, within Trump. You're going to have to find something that you can work with. I'm telling you, it's going to have to be this way. You can't just shit on everything because, I want the best, I want better for you. I want better for you. I want you to, if your heart's in the right place, it can be better. It can be better.
The destruction of the government that was not running smoothly, but at least it was running, and replacing it with whatever the heck this is, which is a group of people who don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're really going on image.
That's not true.
So what do you do?
No, exactly. It's a network of incompetence and threats, right?
So what do you,
What do you do, Joanne?
Right. Well, right. Particularly when the people who are in power are not only not saying it's not falling apart, but they're walking around saying, you know, best it's ever been. Like, we're men and the men are in charge, and look at us.
The men are in charge is the best it's ever been. That is exactly, not saying the men, but the Biden administration. The gaslighting and the lying that and the projection that you're speaking of, specifically trying to apply it to the Trump administration, is actually what we experienced with the Biden administration. And it's not just we're men. Huh? What about Kristi Noem? Y'all hate her. Y'all hate Kristi Noem. So what about her? What about Marjorie Taylor Greene? I'm sure y'all hate her too. But so I don't think it's this, you know, we're all men. You know, what about Susie Wiles, by the way? You guys have to actually like Susie Wiles. I feel like you do. I feel like you do. Susie Wiles is the first female chief of staff. Is that true? Fact check me on that one. So why are you acting like, if anything, you guys should be talking about how, like, you know, Susie Wiles is running things. She serves as the White House chief of staff. But she is the first female right? Susie Wiles, first woman chief of staff. Yeah.
A powerful country, and we don't need anybody else. It's so again, it's the dramatic difference between the reality and the rhetoric right now in what's going on. And I keep thinking this and I keep saying this, and I realize that in this moment, with all that's happening and the ways in which people are being hurt by what's going on, but at its base core, a lot of the sort of parading and extremism and threats of violence and guys, ICE people in, vests with guns and all of that, it's meant to be a performance of threat.
So yes, so Trump is sending messages to Newsom and to Pritzker from Chicago. Yes, if you don't clean up your streets, we will come and clean it up for you. So yes, there is an element of using that soft power, I'm sorry if I'm using the words wrong, but I mean, yes, there's this element of like using these forms to be able to say, like, hey, if you don't take care of it, we will, because this is not allowed and this is not acceptable. But for you guys to just completely ignore the crime that Antifa and George Soros and the NGOs and all that stuff has participated in, right? Funding DAs that don't prosecute and stuff like that. So you're right, judges that don't, right? That judge from, what was it, New Mexico, that he was like housing an illegal immigrant that like that was committing crimes or something. I'm not sure about the committing crimes part, but he was housing, right? The judge, like, that's just one example. The one judge that was like hiding, like there was that video that they had like undercover feds, and she was like hiding him in the courthouse away from them so that they couldn't catch him. And he was somebody that they were looking for actively. So yeah, so let's not sugarcoat that, right? I think, just my opinion.
It's a performance. And what that is to me is
it's a performance. So is it real or is it a performance? Are people really being harmed, or is it a performance? Are people really being threatened, or is it a performance? I'm asking you, is it really a threat and something that we should be concerned about, or is it a performance, or is it showmanship? Is it the gargoyle effect?
Ultimate sign of weakness. If you're really,
is it a sign of strength, or is it a sign of weakness? Like, is it an actual threat, and are they actually strong? Because they do have the force of the federal government and the executive branch behind them, right? He doesn't want to do martial law. He doesn't need to actually do anything unlawful because he is within his realm of legality, able to do what he's doing. So he doesn't have to do anything differently. He doesn't have to change laws, or which is not happening and not part of, right? They're trying to make it sound like all of this is unlawful, or that he's not within his right and authority, right? So then change the laws that are already in place that are allowing him to do this. I wonder if the Posse Comitatus Act is going to come up. But the things that are already, like, change the laws that are, if you have a problem with the laws that are in place right now that he's allowed to follow and allowed to use, then change them. But, right? So is he powerful, or is he strong, or is he weak? Is it a real threat, or is it not?
Strong, you don't need to do that.
Right.
If you're really strong, you don't need to gild your life in gold. If you're really strong, you don't need to parade.
If you're really strong, you don't need to gild your life in gold. What? What? Y'all are trying to roll out your poverty mindset on the rest of us. We don't want a poverty mindset, okay? We don't want it, okay? We want gold, okay? We want nice things. We want to be able to, like, just live a regular life and maybe have a few nice things, okay? But we can't. This is why we can't have nice things. One of the reasons, okay? And yeah, so is it real or is it not?
They're around with big guns all the time when they're not.
And by the way, I think I'm using the term correctly, soft power. The soft power tactic is to prevent actually having to do anything, right? So the thing that you want him to do, which is, like, you're saying, like, oh, he's projecting his strength because he's weak. He wouldn't have to do this if he was strong. He wants everybody to clean up their side of the street. So he's actually restraining, right? This is actually a thread with, war and red lines and all that stuff too, right? Diplomacy. So he's actually using words. He's using rhetoric to so that he does not have to actually use actions. You see? So that's good news for you.
Not needed. You don't need all this if you're really strong. So as counterintuitive as it seems, what we're seeing right now is people who are weak in ways that they don't want to be weak, pretending that they're strong and thinking that, we'll all fall for it. It's counterintuitive, but I think it's vitally important that we realize
nobody has to fall for anything, by the way. Nobody has to fall for anything. Trump is, how many months into his first term? He has all three branches. Nobody has to fall for anything. He's either going to do this or he's not. He's well within his legal authority to do it. He wants these things cleaned up. He wants the domestic terrorism to be done. He wants it to not be funded anymore. He wants to go through it like a RICO chart. He said that. So it does not, no one is falling for anything. Nobody, this isn't, whether people are going to fall for this or not. This is already done. This is already squashed. This is Agenda 47. This is what people voted for. People aren't sitting here going like, oh, wow, is this what I voted for? Or like, oh, wow, this is what, this must be good because Trump is doing it. Like, people don't think like that. Okay. People don't think like that. And so people have their own minds that they can think, and they can make their own judgment calls. But nobody is losing sleep at night because Trump's going into Portland, Oregon and arresting Antifa, okay? And talking about doing a RICO chart with George Soros. Nobody's losing sleep over that because everybody already is on the same page here. So I don't think this needs to be some sort of like, oh, are we going to fall for this? I don't know.
Trying to consolidate power, but they are not in positions of extreme power right now. They're kind of clawing.
They are in extreme positions of actual power because they hold all three branches and the executive branch. So
at trying to grab at what they don't have.
Well, it's interesting because by purging the government of women and people of color as much as they possibly can, what they did essentially.
Whoa. Where are they purging the government of women and people of color everywhere they can? Can you fact check that for me, please? Where is that happening?
Was took away the people who actually knew what they were doing, the career civil servants.
The career civil servants, people who actually knew what they were doing. You mean the career civil servants that everybody already agreed we were done with? People that make a living out of just getting real cozy on taxpayers' dime? Like, this is what term limits is all about. Nobody wants politicians to get so cozy and make a career out of being a politician and being a government activist. Nobody wants that anymore. This is all Agenda 47. This is what people voted for. Nobody's surprised. This is what people wanted.
And they took away the usual scapegoats. So, you look in this moment. Yeah. So usually it's like, oh, it's not my fault. It was my secretary. It was the intern. It was the DEI hire. It was the whatever. Well, now there's nobody to blame but themselves. And you see this, I think, in the desperate attempt to blame the Democrats for the shutdown when the Republicans are in charge of everything. And if they wanted to, they could nuke the filibuster in the Senate and put through the continuing resolution into November that they want. But of course, that then would really put them entirely on the hook. And they're trying to force the Democrats to take responsibility for their own stupid budget reconciliation bill from back in July.
Well, isn't it true that the Democrats changed the bill from the House to the Senate and they wanted to give illegal immigrants health care?
Which passed without any Democratic votes.
But
J.D. Vance cast a deciding vote on that.
But to me, the most obvious sign of the fact that they're desperately trying to blame this on the Democrats and they really, really aren't succeeding is that the announcement that all of these government agencies had to put up, well, we would be working right now if it wasn't for the radical left who's shutting down the government. That is like screaming and crying, no, don't blame us. Don't blame us. It's them. It's them. Again, all of these supposed, chest beating, manly moments of sort of claiming power, they're such signs of weakness. We don't read them that way because this is not
signs of weakness. I just don't know if Joanne's specialty involves being able to assess, human dynamics and interpersonal relationships and what motivates and drives people. I'm just not sure, because it seems like just using sort of your own frame of reference again to like personalize things, right? Like just like a wonky class on dynamics, right? That they're saying, that it obviously is showing like it's not me, the way that she's describing it and how she has to psychoanalyze it in order for it to make sense for her. But she's looking at it as from her own lens and her own life and lived experiences, right? She's not doing it as a historian. She's doing it as a person, right? And so she's right. Right. And she keeps doing that like manly thing. So if we had to, that's why we have to look at people and who people are to understand their worldview and their lens, because they're not being honest with us about what that is. Right. So like I said in the beginning of the show, it would be really awesome if we could have everybody be honest about their perspective and their bias and like where they're coming from, so that we don't have to sit here and spend time trying to figure out, what's important to you? Where are you coming from? What's your lived experiences? Where's your pain at, right? What trauma have you experienced that makes you so actually angry that you're projecting onto these people that have literally nothing to do with, your own inability to self-reflect and take ownership and responsibility for your own self. So I just would love a little bit more transparency just for everybody's sake.
A comfortable moment for anyone. And if you're living in this moment as we are, we're not enjoying this. This is scary. It's this contingency.
It
We don't know
doesn't
what's
have
going to
to be.
happen. It's for any number of reasons. This is bad. We are not
It's
enjoying
not.
this moment. But
Not.
if we can look through the fog of badness and see the ways in which things like that, these, you know, it's all the radical left. What a bonkers, crazy thing to
Hold
do.
on, I want to say something else. He's actually giving y'all a way out, by the way. He's giving y'all an off ramp. Take it. That's not us. The radical left, the radical loony left, that's not us. You know, we're just your good, solid Democrats. Just own it. Just own it. You know, we're your good, solid little d Democrats. That's us. We're not the radical left. You know what I mean? Just like we say, like, we're not those extremists. Like, we're not those people that, like, you know, we're not the racists and the white supremacists. Are there some out there? Yes. It's the same thing. Like, I don't identify with the radical part of society. Fucking, you know, shocker. Excuse me. I think I've gone this whole show without dropping an F-bomb. Like, just admit that there's this radical faction of y'all's thing, and he's letting you off the hook. He's giving you an off ramp. He's helping you out. He's saying, like, I know it's not you. Well, he would probably have something to say about y'all, but he hasn't yet, so who knows. So he's giving you an off ramp. Just say, like, yeah, like, there are some extremist views, like, within our party, and we don't agree with them. Like, we don't, you know, but you can't say that. I understand, but you know, but you'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Because it's like the ultimate plea of weakness. Again, if you're strong, if you know the facts, if you can say, like, well, it's not us, really. It's really not us. It's them. You don't have to be so extreme.
That's not right. That's not true. You're just projecting, and, like, you're telling people how to be. Like, that's not entirely true. Like, part of the extreme, and you're using the word extreme too, but I mean, part of the performance is just that. And Democrats and Republicans have been doing it for decades. They've been doing the political theater for decades. So this isn't just something that's on the Republican side. And we would be the first to call it out on the Republican side too, by the way. We don't like Lindsey Graham. You know, we have problems with Ted Cruz. Maybe the same problems that you would have. You know, it's like, we're, you know, and there's some Democrats that I would agree with. You know, that's what we're trying to do here, is, like, we're not trying to go down this, like, psychotic ramp like y'all are doing, trying to psychoanalyze a thing so wrongly and then applying it and subverting the information to try and corral it into something that makes sense for, like, this story that you guys are trying to tell. I'm just trying to help you out.
The more extreme they are, the weaker they're showing that they feel. And that, I think that's important to realize.
And that does, though, push us forward. I mean, I continually think that image is weakening because it shows that it's not real. It is an image that the Republicans have clung to since at least Ronald Reagan.
Oh my God.
And people, I think, are starting to wake up to the fact it is just an image.
Right. That's the Democrats. It is just an image that the Democrats are the party of the working class. Okay. Of labor. It is just an image that the Democrats care about the marginalized communities. It is just an image. You're saying it's an image of the Republicans that are going all the way back to Reagan. I'm sorry. Is the Trump era regular Republicans and Republicanism, or is Trump just a small portion of the radical extremists? Which one is it? Because it's a new Republican Party, girlfriend.
But the question then is, how do we push beyond that? And I, you know, again, back to the military people this week, what really jumped out to me was how much watching them made me think of what I do anyway. And I think you'll probably agree with this. I don't want to speak for you, that, you know, the military really is nonpartisan. in that it has a loyalty to something that is much bigger than this particular political moment. And that is 1,000% how I see what I do. And I think you'd probably say the same thing. We're really tied to the long sweep of American history. And sure, we vote for one person or another. We like certain things and we don't. But my loyalty is to that longer sweep. And so I wonder if one of the ways to get beyond this miring in the hyper individualist rah cowboy
Hyper
image
individualist
is really to emphasize those longer sweep values of American history, and sort of reroute people in the longer sweep, so it doesn't become as it certainly seems to for a lot of MAGA people I know. We're owning the libs, this is great, you know.
Oh my God. Girl, don't ever say that again. Don't ever say that again. Don't ever do that again. Dude, nobody's saying that. I don't know what MAGA people you're talking to. People don't talk like that in real life. Okay. I think you saw that like on like, you know, some sort of pro-Trump like content creator on the internet. Like people don't talk like that in real life. We're owning the libs. What? Okay. So how do you know that MAGA people aren't, and MAGA people, how do you know that Trump isn't? Like, what do you think is actually going on? Like, what do you think is actually going on? Like, what do you think is going on that Trump has been doing and is doing? You don't think it has anything to do with the long haul. You don't think that he like did all this for the short haul. You know, and so yeah, I'd say that everybody's in it for the long haul. And so anyway, so you're talking, and I really would love to know where you're going with this when you're talking about the military having a duty and a commitment to the long haul, like yourself, because you don't have any bias, right? You're in it. You're just, well, let's hear what you have to say.
Trump, you go, this is great. And I'm thinking, like, have you looked at the cost of coffee? You know, have you looked at, you know,
Right.
And obviously the answer to that is no, because they're simply trying to win in this moment like it's a sports team.
No, I think some people do that. Yeah, for sure. Like I said, there's some fanatics, like I said. Have you looked at the price of coffee?
But, you know, well, that's interesting. What's interesting about that is, you know, part of the, you know, the eternal, what should the Democrats be doing now? What aren't the Democrats doing now? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Thinking about the long sweep, thinking about what the United States actually should stand for, even if it hasn't always lived up to that, thinking about over the long haul, really what the United States can be. That's not what's happening right now. What's happening right now is Democrats saying, well, you know, this is all about healthcare. And it isn't. People really aren't standing up and saying, well, here's what we stand for.
I think you're right. She had said this before. I think the Democrats, I think they're frustrated with their party because the Democrats actually aren't doing anything, right? They're not looking at it from the long haul, right? They're looking at it from their own power supply. Like, is my paycheck going to be coming? Is my lobbying money going to be coming? Like, they're not doing any criticism of their own party, right? And the systems that like the thing about, we were saying before about the messaging that Trump has, like, because so they're frustrated with their party because they haven't been able to do anything. And they don't do anything because their hands are tied, because they're committed to their lobbyists, and they're committed to, because they have no authority. They're not decision makers. They have to, you know, they're not voting on behalf of their constituents, right? It's captured, right? So it took somebody that has their own finances to come in, right? And then to rally the troops and to say and to garner private support. To garner private support, because that's where the money comes from too. New people that never really cared about politics, or would just like like, that's why you see somebody like David Sachs, who left his career and left his business. Like, he doesn't need to be in office. Like, they're bringing in people that like don't necessarily need to be in office, right, to participate, because they have an invested interest in the future. Now, whether you agree with that invested interest and what like the technocracy, surveillance state and stuff like that would consider, like, well, what is this merging with Silicon Valley? And what does this mean with Palantir and all that stuff? Those are some and AI and the data centers and all that stuff. So you might say something like that, like, what are the potential consequences for that? Or what are the potentialities for that even? Not just like all the bad stuff, but like, what are the like possible good things that could come out of these things? And how can we focus on that and move and push and do pressure politics on those things, right? How can we build and grow and do good things? So yeah.
Now, I don't know the best way to do that, because I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like meandering around the country before the last election and talking about democracy, what I saw was that a lot of people just didn't fundamentally know what democracy was. And so speaking on that kind of a level and holding forth on that level was not the most effective way to get across.
Right, because people don't care about democracy in the way that you're talking about it. Like, we have to preserve democracy. You see, they're using this as a talking point to try and diminish populism and trying to diminish people's actually lived experiences and what people experience with their five senses, right? People's own lived experiences. So they want to diminish it by saying, oh, but we have to preserve democracy. This is just like S.E. Cupp talking about like, well, I have the luxury to preserve democracy and I have the luxury to educate people on democracy because all my bills are paid for and I have 2 cars and I live in a comfortable place that doesn't have illegal immigration in my neighborhood and crime. So, right. So they're doing this like they're trying to do this like grassroots, like, oh, but democracy. And people like, we need to pay our bills. Like, people are sick. People need healthcare. They need health. They need to be able to go see a specialist. They need to be able to maybe not also have toxins in their food and their water, and maybe don't need to be on all the pharmaceuticals. So these are people's lived experiences. And so going around talking to people about democracy didn't work. Oh, it didn't work. Because people don't care about preserving democracy here and abroad. And the people that do care, the liberal class, the people that do have their bills paid for, that intellectually want to read and do understand these concepts and maybe are privileged and do have the luxury to think about and care about democracy and tell everybody else how to live their lives because they, are in a different economic situation for different reasons. But not everybody lives like that. Right? So I would say that your strategy of going around and talking to people in real life about democracy, I would say it probably didn't work. And you're probably, again, I think just frustrated with the Democratic Party because they haven't been able to do anything. And so if you can't find strength and confidence in your party, then all hope is lost. So that's where I see your pessimism and you're sort of like, well, what can we do? Because what can you do, right? Through the democratic process for you, like, what can you do? You're going to have to run people that maybe, campaign finance reform is going to be a thing for you guys, right? Term limits. Getting good people, that you don't always agree with, right? On different things. Yeah, but federally, I don't know what to tell you. I think people on a local level, are much more likely to just vote for the person. But, because you can't, like I said, people are far more alike. They come together on these local issues far more than they do. And judges are also important too. We saw our judges go different ways here in Pennsylvania. They didn't do good with a couple things, but judges are going to be a little bit different than just, city council and stuff like that. But still, depending upon what kind of politics local people want to bring in, everybody can sort of work together. And it doesn't matter what party they are. Everybody can sort of just work together. But I could see how you would be frustrated with your party. And if you feel like you don't have an answer at the ballot box, then what are you fighting for? Right? So I think what MAGA and Trump voters have gone through, maybe y'all need to actually go through now. Maybe you and your Biden voter conglomerate, y'all need to go through what the Trump voters have gone through, right? So I don't foresee that happening from like who you guys would bring in. You know what I mean? Like who y'all would bring in.
What the United States stands for. But that, it feels to me, and I'll be interested to see if you agree, that it would be helpful if the Democrats who have a public platform, who are in power, would find a way to promote something positive that they are reaching for and aiming towards and represent, rather than saying, well, the shutdown is all about healthcare. No, it's not their healthcare. They're lying. They're saying that it's all about giving healthcare to illegal, people in the United States. But no, it's, that's the weeds. And it feels to me part of what you're saying is the longer scope, the longer haul, the things that people understand, even if we, again, haven't fulfilled it, represent what the United States should be. Somehow we need that to be front and center.
So I would say, first of all, I'm going to throw this at you. We should talk about the wigs. Because what we really should talk about the wigs. But I will say, I actually think that discussion is very much going on. It's going on among some Democrats, but it's a lot of the leadership of the Democratic Party right now has to work within the system it's got in Congress, which is so desperately skewed right now. But where I'm seeing it is among the American people, which I really love, because the pushback on Jimmy Kimmel and the understanding.
Did she just say that the Democratic Party is fractured?
All of a sudden of how important the First Amendment is.
Right.
And now, the hopefully class.
Democrats have not had their freedom of speech taken away for so long. They're like, well, Jimmy Kimmel, we remembered what the First Amendment was.
Action lawsuit, but the lawsuit on behalf of the American citizen of Mexican heritage from, I think it's Georgia. I could be wrong. It might be Alabama, that came out this week with him saying, you, by arresting me or detaining me twice on private property where I was doing my job, you have violated the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable searches and seizures. And all of a sudden, these places where the modern administration is attacking the Bill of Rights, suddenly, I bet a lot of people who had never heard of the Fourth Amendment or never really cared about the First Amendment suddenly are saying, wait a minute, I really do care about those things. And the reason I mention the Whigs is because I was always secretly very, very fond of the Whigs. One of my coming of age books was Daniel Walker Howe's the political ideology of the what was it called? The
political culture, wasn't it?
Political culture of the American Whigs. That's it. Yeah. But in that case, once again, to stand against the elite enslavers in the Congress who were trying to take over the entire system for themselves, the Whigs sort of pushed back as they could, but the people demanded a much broader and forceful defense of American democracy. And that's where we got Abraham Lincoln. We created Abraham Lincoln, and they created the Republican Party. And it really feels very, very similar to that right now.
Who's going to tell her? Who's going to tell her?
To me, that the American people are stepping up. You do your thing, you Chuck Schumer and all that. We're creating something new over here. And
What? Look at how it looked for a pause too. I'm so sorry. What? This is getting good. This is getting good. That's like the Reaper song playing in my head.
love it.
No, I think that's right. And okay, this is what it reminds me of, because this is why we're friends. John Quincy Adams. Because what John Quincy Adams did after his presidency, he goes back to Congress, he's in the House, and he's a really...
Duty is ours, results are God's. That's what John Quincy Adams said, by the way. So big rallying cry here.
The firm anti-slavery advocate. But what he realizes, and that's the period when there's the gag rule, and basically you're not allowed to talk about or have petitions against slavery in Congress, and they're trying to silence the discussion. So what John Quincy Adams does, he knows, along the lines of what you're saying, that if he stands up and screams, slavery is bad, it's not going to go anywhere. So what he does is he says, your right to petition is being denied, Americans. You have a right to petition, and that's being denied. And sure enough, when Americans felt that their rights were being denied, regardless of how wrong slavery is, suddenly they respond. And it's the people and their response to their new understanding that their rights were being violated that ultimately helped to sink the gag rule. So I think you absolutely are right. And I think, this is like the ultimate grabbing at the sort of sunny side of something, but it is true that I think people, and by people I mean the American people, are understanding the centrality and meaning of what
like how your rights are being taken away. Is that what you're saying? You're going to dog whistle that people's rights are being taken away? Because that's what we saw with the abortion stuff, right? And then their rights to what? What rights are being taken away from American citizens? Not ones that are here illegally, but what rights are being taken away?
Constitution is, and you're totally right, are understanding their rights, because their rights are being threatened or taken away, and there's no better way to understand what they are.
The Democratic Party just stopped educating people, and that's what the Trump era has done. It's just woken people up to get educated on civics and politics and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I mean, look at Patriot Academy. We talked about this before, but people are just they have gotten caught up. We still have so much to learn, obviously, but I think what you're talking about too is important and admirable. But I think that that has been what the Trump era has done, as that, again, it's activated the middle class, but it's woken people up and especially too, what happened that the Democrats were having an integral part in more than Republicans, by the way, clearly, with the pandemic and the mandates that woke people up. Actually, it's unconstitutional. Shutting down businesses is unconstitutional, right? So we found out what our rights were. And that actually, I think that there's evidence to support, people have theories and such like that it was, as a way to do the mail-in ballots and the mail-in voting, and to take down Trump. So you could say, yeah, Trump caused that, but I mean, he wasn't the governor of blue states. He wasn't Democratic governors who literally shut down businesses and called them non-essential, shut down schools and forced kids in masks long after it was people were even worried about it.
And when suddenly you're learning that they're being threatened, they're being violated in a really obvious way, because the people in power are doing it in such an over-the-top.
So are you saying that we have to now convince people that they're under threat in order to get them to be activated?
Obvious way that it can't be missed.
Well, and especially when, to go back to where we started, the people in power seem not even to be elected official.
Right.
So on that,
and seem not to be elected officials. Yeah, pretty sure a lot of the government are assigned people that aren't voted. What do you want? What do you want to see differently?
cheery note, I just want to put in a plug, and I hope you don't mind. No Kings, baby.
No Kings.
October 18th, because You know, the thing we didn't talk about, we should though, is how.
I'm sorry. So are people in power that are unelected, is that a king then? So I'm sorry, I'm confused. Is the king in power, or is he just projecting that he has power, or has he delegated all of his power to unelected bureaucrats? So then that would sort of like mess with the no kings thing, right?
John Quincy Adams, for example, explained that people were losing their First Amendment right to petition, how those ideas get spread, how people begin to coalesce around the recognition that they're losing their rights, all of which is happening now pretty dramatically, like with this raid in Chicago,
Right.
where, you know, the ICE.
Drug dealers and drug manufacturers and drug runners and traffickers that are here illegally, or even if they're American citizens, if they're doing that activity, that illegal activity, that's what we're talking about. That's who you're defending?
And a number of other agencies.
Invading a building.
Invaded the building,
oh my
and
God.
zip-tied children, and
Stop it. Invading a building? Invading a building? This is what has happened when the law has not been enforced for so long, and now you're defending people that, again, yes, I mean, the story that you're referring to, they let some people go, but they also charged other people, right? They know where this was before Trump was elected. They know where people are. This is what has been said. They know where these people are. And nobody's done anything about it. I mean, DeSantis has been doing stuff about it in Florida, but they know where the criminals are. So this is what you do. Invaded a building? Girl, what are you even talking about? Like, do you not know what law enforcement has the authority to do? Like,
it's really bad stuff. That, even if you don't live in Chicago, even if they are not your people, even if
even if they're not your people, even if you're not in Chicago and they are not your people, like, nothing is much worse under Trump than it was under Biden. And they're trying to find these things to make everybody so scared and worried that oh, this is so bad because they invaded a building full of criminals that they charged, that they've been watching, that they know darn well have all the evidence that they can use in court now. This isn't on a whim. Like, you're trying to make that problem everybody's problem. Even if they're not your people, like, whoa, what are you? No, really, what is the problem? What is your problem?
Some were undocumented, even if some may have been, which is what the administration says, without proof, committing crimes. You cannot have people attacked by their government without warrants, without anything.
You can't have people attacked by their governments without a warrant? Wow, really? Really? Okay. Even if some of them may have been guilty, as the administration is saying, you can't just have people attacked by their own government without a warrant.
Those things really, really, really matter. And we got to spread the news about them happening so people know to stand up against it.
And the visuals.
Yeah, it's so unaffecting regular people that we have to bring it to the forefront of everybody's minds and make sure everybody knows that it's happening. Because people aren't realizing we don't have anything, because everybody's regular lived experiences are no better or worse. And I do agree, like, we do need to see some change with regular things like that. We do need to see some of that where people are feeling the financial release a little bit more, for sure.
of it. Again, so focused on like appearing strong that people can see. Like there's an image all over the place of an ICE agent zip tying a baby, right? A baby's hands behind. So yeah, the visuals of.
Where's the picture of somebody zip tying a baby? And if we want to talk about visuals and videos and children, where would we find that? And you're not going to talk about that? Okay.
That, as they're trying to prove how strong they are stunningly horrible, and they're hard to miss.
Hard to miss. So hard to miss.
It does make you wonder, how do you push back against the visuals? And I don't mean like by literally having your own visuals. A lot of people are doing that. Do you laugh at them? Do you just say, this is incredibly stupid? You're gold we know that some of the filigree in the White House appears to have come from Home Depot. I mean, you just laugh at them?
That's part of the answer, not the answer to all of this, but there's a long-standing tradition in Serbia where the first people to really use this as a form of activism is using humor and mockery to.
I'm sorry, what did you say about Serbia? Huh?
And we know that some of the filigree in the White House appears to have come from Home Depot. I
mean,
you just laugh at them?
That's part of the answer, not the answer to all of this, but there's a long-standing tradition in Serbia where the first people to really use this as a form of activism is using humor and mockery to attack and weaken authoritarians, because authoritarianism and dictators, their power rests on fear. People need to be scared of them. So if you can do things to make people laugh at them, Jimmy Kimmel, then people said,
okay, this is what they tried to do though the first time. They tried to laugh at him the first time. But this is why the left can't meme. So because they're on the wrong side of it. You see, you have to, like, the thing about comedy is that it's rooted in truth. Okay. And so some people, and we're seeing this is like a whole experiment, a psychological experiment. It's like, yes, some people think it's funny that Trump, like making fun of Trump. Like some people think that that's funny. Okay. And it's almost like if we could do politics on the people that we can convince to have Trump derangement syndrome and to laugh at Trump in a way that he's like repulsive, but that lost. You see, you had a chance to do that, and you lost. You lost during Trump's first term. So people, he's the representative of the deplorables. Like, you see how it doesn't make sense? You can't take his power away by throwing him in the briar patch. You can't take his power away by laughing at him, because he's a comedian. He can take a joke. Y'all take yourselves way too seriously. That's why you guys can't do humor, because you can't take jokes. You can't make jokes. You can't take jokes. JD Vance can take a joke. He controls himself. You see? So that's not going to work. And it's shown that it hasn't worked. And the deplorables have been laughed at for how long? And MAGA has a sense of humor. So if you guys turned on your own and started making jokes about them and laughing about it, you'd have more fun and it would make more sense. And you'd probably start to see more of the in real life connections, that you want to see.
Suddenly do not see them as being so powerful. So, it's even called in some places laughtivism. Like, if you can mock an authoritarian and do it effectively, and that spreads, if we're talking about a message that spreads, humor spreads, that's certainly one way to pull the rug out from under an authoritarian. It alone is not going to solve the current moment. But, I see what's going on in Portland. They're using that in Portland, right? Right now, they're doing.
Oh my God. The donuts, I'm sorry, the donuts on the fishing lines. Somebody said this is really not. I thought it was hilarious. I mean, if people don't know, Portland is very famous for its donuts, and that at least in Boston, I don't know if this is around the rest of the world, because we have Dunkin' Donuts. There's this thing about law enforcement officers and donuts. Maybe that's a more general thing. And the donuts on the, I cried laughing at that.
I'm sorry. I was like reading this about the gold trim. So are you making fun of law enforcement that they like donuts, and like you're like doing like Antifa adjacent? What are we doing here? Like you're laughing because what they're putting donuts on fishing poles or something? Didn't you guys learn that like defund the police like didn't work? Like making fun of police officers is probably not going to go really well for you guys. I also just want to, because I just looked this up. It did say that there is a claim that suggesting that the gold trimmings are actually plastic molds bought at Home Depot and painted in gold. Some sources provide neutral information describing the changes Trump made to the White House decor without commenting on the authenticity of the gold. A key missing context in the original statement is the definition of literal real gold, which is not clearly specified. Yeah, so the original statement may be misleading due to its lack of clarity and specificity regarding the type and authenticity of the gold used. Some sources may be biased in their reporting, with certain outlets presenting a more positive or negative view of Trump's actions. It doesn't look like this is a good source. In fact, I guess the jury is out on it. I guess some people were saying that Trump had, I guess that's just probably a blue and on talking point, I would say.
Yeah, no, it's getting coverage. We're noticing it. And that is actually a tried and true. Google it, folks. Like Google laftivism, Google Serbia and authoritarianism and mockery. There's a TED talk about this. That, as frivolous and ridiculous as it sounds, if you're talking about how to combat an image, that's one thread of how to combat an image of dictatorship.
And we also have images of truly heroic Americans and people around the world, of course, but Americans are effective here, who didn't espouse those values at all. I mean, the American cowboy was never real. The American individualist was never real. And it was always a myth. And, remembering our true history, I think gives us some tools as well.
And it becomes important for us to step forward as historians to help people remember our true history. So that's also some of what's going on now, is the attempt to mask, hide, or erase our true history for really obvious reasons, given everything that we're saying right now about the importance of understanding the long arc of this country and where we can be versus where we are.
That seems like a lovely place to end it today, don't you think?
I think so.
All I can say is let's hope for a calmer week next week. And you know what? We're not going to get it.
I know, but we can hope for it.
Yeah, we can hope for it. We can hope for it for 2 days. Although something always happens over the weekend in this administration. Have you noticed that?
No, totally. I will also have an advertisement for myself here, because it changed things dramatically. But I do have a Friday morning podcast called History Matters.
There you go.
I post it up after it happens on my, I won't say YouTube channel. And you can also get to it for now. Ultimately, it'll be grounded on my YouTube channel. But you can find it at ncheteach.org/conversations. NCHE, National Council for History Education, teach.org/conversations. Every Friday morning, 10:30 Eastern time. I talk about history and what history can tell us about the current moment.
Oh.
Just to be clear, you said podcast, but I think people often think of a podcast as being only audio. It's a webcast. It's a webcast.
And it's live.
Webcast.
So it's me at 10:30. I'm sorry, 10 o'clock.
It's a webcast.
30. It's 10 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. 10:30 is us, Heather, and I keep getting them confused.
No, I mean,
It's
I think
10
podcast
o'clock
is
on Friday mornings.
probably
10
fine to say.
o'clock on Friday mornings. And it's me live at 10 o'clock and then
Webcast. Is
questions.
this a webcast?
It's a
Should I change
community
the
of
name of
people
it?
that really, we did our
Normalizing
285th
webcast?
episode yesterday.
Oh, wow. Congratulations on that.
Thanks. 10 o'clock, not 10:30.
Don't even try. Don't even try.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit the road and face the weekend.
Okay.
All right, very good. Oh man. Yeah, wow. Okay, great. I'm gonna need a coffee after that. Yeah, so wow, and a little shout out to Serbia there. Huh? Wow, yeah, I didn't know that about what did she say, laughism or something? I'll have to check that out, the phrase that she said there. So yeah, so wow, this was pretty long, but we wanted to review it. We wanted to go all over it, and yep, we wouldn't have gotten those gems at the end if we didn't stick through it. So this is sort of just a little pet project that we do here at Beyond the Lines podcast. Spend time so you don't have to, but if you hung out with us, then you also endured. But I think it's good. I think it's good to do these experiments and exercises, just to, give everybody a voice, right? To check out all sides. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will catch you next time.